sun sets on the Dragon Ninja bloodline.
Genshin, go back to hell.
All paths before me are cruel and arduous. Our time has come.
Welcome back to Retro Rebound. In today's video, we just got the biggest dopamine hit of all time. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. Are you kidding me? Just the name alone gave me goosebumps. But before any of that, we gotta talk about today's sponsor. So here on Retro Rebound, we buy a lot of stuff, and I'm always looking for new places to buy stuff, and I know you are too, so that's why I'm here to tell you about Encore, which has a great app. They also have a wonderful website, and it's basically like TikTok meets auctions, and it's really awesome because you get to see videos of the thing you're gonna buy before you actually bid on it. So you get to see maybe the game actually running on a screen. You get to actually see the complete in-box copy, where all the dings are, if there are any dings. You get a real close, intimate look at it that still images just can't provide or oftentimes hide. And I get it when people hear about a new place to buy games, it's immediate pass. But one thing I want to emphasize is that they're really focused on building trust. Like, all sellers have to be ID'd before they start auctioning things online. And if you kind of want to dip your toe in the pool, they do a lot of giveaways over on Encore. So you can kind of just see what's the haps over here first before you even commit any money to it. But yeah, we can go shopping for some games right now if you want to. You'll see as I'm scrolling through their website, through their app, there's tons of options. Everything from Pokemon cards, which I still shop for on the occasion to grade them, all the way to Funko Pops, which I'm not that crazy about, but video games is really what we're here for, and you can find plenty of those here on Encore. So what are you waiting for? You can go ahead and check out Encore right now on iOS and Android. All you have to do is click my link in the description to get started, and shout out to Encore for sponsoring today's video. I adore me some Ninja Gaiden. I always call it the series that put a little hair on young Maddie's chest, because I remember playing as Ryu Hayabusa, innocently buying Ninja Gaiden Black for 10 bucks at GameStop used, and thinking to myself, oh cool, an action ninja game. This will be a good time. Wrong. I got decimated, time in, time out, had to buy the guides, had to look up walkthroughs, had to do my best to get through it all, and eventually gave up by like chapter 5, I think. But still, overcoming even that first boss on that bridge, you know, the one on the horse, that was a big moment for young Maddie. To overcome that, get into that flow state, chain from one boss to the next, that felt amazing. And Ninja Gaiden has always been defined, at least in its 3D space, I've not played much 2D Ninja Gaiden, as a series that is both tough and rewarding, but also super action-packed. It's just one of the best things that you could really ask for from an action game. It just really is one of the best things ever. And Ninja Gaiden is storming back onto the market this year. We got Ninja Gaiden 4, a brand new 2D Ninja Gaiden game, and this remake slash remaster that is way more important than you may realize. There's a lot of history with Ninja Gaiden 2. In fact, you can see 2 releases to kind of start explaining why, with a third on screen. So there's a lot to get into today, but I've been playing a ton of Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. I want to share some thoughts here because boy, is this a Retro Rebound spirited video. So let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. If you're new here and you're into nostalgic or retrospective content, consider subscribing. Beginning at the top, I think to properly understand why Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is so good and is so important, we have to go back to the very essence of Ninja Gaiden. This was one of the most important Xbox series ever, in my opinion. It really defined next generation graphics for at least the Xbox and the Xbox 360. But in the 360, it had less of an impact compared to the likes of Halo, or really it was Gears that was pushing the limits. But Ninja Gaiden was always in that mix. It was the first game as a kid that I remember really having it blow my mind. But it had everything: the fully produced cutscenes, the story, the voice acting, the uncompromised gameplay. Like, it was all there. Ninja Gaiden 2, I think, is the best in the trilogy in a lot of ways, but there are moments I'm like, is it Black, the first one? I don't know. I just go back and forth, but really Ninja Gaiden 2, with its mixture of weapons, its incredible animations, its wonderful locations, its batshit insane story, it's just such a fun romp every single time, and it's definitely the one that I've replayed the most in the entire series. However, when Ninja Gaiden 2 first came out on the 360, it had a lot of performance issues. That's because this was really pushing the boundaries for an action game. The speed at which the game ran, the amount of enemies on screen, the gore, the dismemberment. No doubt this video is going to get demonetized because you will paint the room with your enemies. Ninja Gaiden 2 is not a game where it's enough just to kill your enemies. You have to make sure every limb is off of them. You have to straight up murder them with a capital M. And if you do not, they're probably going to crawl on top of you, stick an incendiary shuriken in your chest, and make you pay for not finishing them off. Every enemy fights to their last breath in this game, and it's what makes it such a challenge. So Ninja Gaiden 2 comes around, and it's got some problems, but overall, I still find it to be an excellent game. Then Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma rolls around, and we have Sigma Plus here on the Vita. This is where the controversy kicks up a little bit, because Ninja Gaiden 2 was a beautiful mixture of high action gameplay and challenge. Sigma comes along and says, oh, we heard you about those technical concerns, so we've limited some of the blood on screen. We've shrunken down the amount of enemies that appeared. All this got the performance to where it needed to be, but it came at the sacrifice of a challenge. And it's not just because, oh, there's a few less enemies, they rebalanced the game. One boss got removed. There were a lot of changes that came into Sigma that removed what made Ninja Gaiden special. And so what you were left with was not the challenging aspect, but just the action aspect, which is why, you're not gonna like this, I am a bit of a Sigma defender. Like, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Is there a true version for Ninja Gaiden? Absolutely. Like a recommended experience? Absolutely. But ignorance is bliss, and if you don't know any better, Ninja Gaiden, the beauty of it is a completely not just serviceable, but excellent action video game. And even in Sigma, with all the added content, the different playable characters, that's all there. So that's a little bit of a history lesson on the two different versions of Ninja Gaiden. If you go on Reddit threads, YouTube videos, there's always debates on, is Sigma acceptable? Can I play Sigma? And the only time a re-release really went in the favor of Ninja Gaiden outside of the first one with Black was Razor's Edge for the third entry, where the third entry was a disaster, but Razor's Edge really redeemed that game and put it in a spot where it is pretty good nowadays. And I hope they do a Ninja Gaiden 3 Black at this point. However, you're here to learn more about Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. So what makes this game special? Well, they're doing the impossible. They're taking the two versions that we always debated about for years and doing this, bringing them right together. And I could not be happier as a Ninja Gaiden fan, because now you have the definitive version where it's like, hey, the challenge is still here, that OG challenge. It's tough as nails, as we'll get into a little bit, but it's still got all of the gore, all of the dismemberment. I mean, these rooms are going to be glowing red when you're done with them. And also, because the additional memory that these systems have now on next-gen technology, you might leave a room and come back and still find all the dead bodies, the blood, the limbs, everything. So there's an added value to this version on a visual front that all the others can't keep up with. But this is the hybrid that we all dreamed of. It's the grand unifier. It's something that us Persona 3 fans really wanted when, remember, you had Persona 3 in its base version, portable, FES, and we're like, Atlas, bring them all together, bring us FemC, but also the production value of the console version into like one grand story, redo Tartarus, and they just gave you basically the console version over again. It's not that moment here. This is exactly what Ninja Gaiden fans have been asking for, and that's what makes it so exciting, so special. So what does make Ninja Gaiden 2 really click? I've kind of skimmed over the surface a lot, but God, where do I begin? I really think it's the weapons and the animation. For me, that is something that always blew my mind with Ninja Gaiden. I still think the lunar staff in Ninja Gaiden 1 is one of the most impressive sequences in game animation that you can find in an early video game title. And it carries right into Ninja Gaiden 2. The amount of weapons you get and the ways that you can play, from great swords to flails to the talons to the, of course, the classic dragon sword. There are so many options at your disposal, plus the Nimpo, the different inferno arts you can do, the ninja blades you can send out, all the different projectiles you can get from incendiary shurikens, which did get removed in Sigma, now they're here, all the way to your standard shurikens, all the way to bow and arrows. There are so many tools at your disposal. And what I love about this game is you can use all of them depending on your playstyle, but some are really good for specific scenarios. Like, there's times where you're fighting the Black Spider Clan, all these ninjas are surrounding you, And I've tried to use the lunar staff, but you're just a little bit slow on the wake up animation to get swinging. Once you get going though, you're covering a lot of ground, but really it's best, I think, to open up with the dragon sword. But that's the cool part, is there's different play styles, there's different approaches. So for example, if you want to take a more defensive oriented approach, that's what Ninja Gaiden 2 really recommends. And so I effectively have to remove the Sigma male for me, the Sigma version, because what's happening is I'm so used to playing the Sigma versions because those are the only modern accessible ones, because there was also the Ninja Gaiden Master Collection, and it was there that you would again get the Sigma versions once more on modern platforms. So I was just like, sometimes I don't want to boot up the OG Xbox 360. Sometimes I just want to play on the modern platforms with the frame rate and the better visuals, and we'll get into that in a moment here with Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. Because I find myself mashing buttons a ton in this game, and you'll see even in the gameplay, sometimes like I'm just getting battled back because I'm overswinging, overcommitting, because the feeling of getting into a flow state in Ninja Gaiden is so good. Like, for example, if you get that Azuna drop on someone and then they pop their head open like a grape, and all of a sudden you see some essence on the ground, you hold the Y button, you put your blade away, and you get ready for that ultimate attack, and you start zipping around the map and just killing everyone. That is the flow of a Ninja Gaiden game, where suddenly the difficult becomes the most amazing action combat you've ever seen, and it just goes back and forth between that. In a lot of ways, this is like the precursor to a Souls game. Like, you'll even see that health bar on the bottom. You already know what I'm talking about, and you can see some of the design sensibilities that were borrowed from this franchise and brought into some of the most popular titles nowadays. So I really do think 3D Ninja Gaiden is just way more influential than people acknowledge sometimes, but I am just so happy to be back in this world. So what the visuals I talked about earlier, it's not just the gore and the dismemberment, but I fired up Ninja Gaiden Sigma Plus on my PS Vita, which I get is a little bit of the bottom of the barrel example there, but basically the same as the 360 version, right? Wow, what a difference, man. The lighting especially is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. Now, I've been playing it, as you can see here on my Series X. It's been running at a smooth 60 frames, beautiful resolution as well, but the lighting is such an incredible difference maker. Like, I was playing it on my Vita, and we run Retro Rebound here, so of course, like, I'm not gonna lose my mind if some environments look a little stale or baked in the terms of lighting. That's okay with me. But quite frankly, this is the best looking version I could have ever imagined for a Ninja Gaiden game. Everything from the shadows to the character models to the weather effects to, again, the way like you're just cutting people up, and the detail which it provides is amazing. The one thing that does feel a little bit dated in the terms of visuals are facial animations. That's where you get back into the remaster bag. There's times this just feels like a pure remake, but then you'll get reminded like, oh, it's just an upgraded version of the original. But this is hosted in Unreal Engine, so you're seeing a lot of the boons of that engine shine through here in this game. Again, especially in the lighting department. Just looking at these side by side, what a difference maker, but especially a difference maker in that balancing. I know I've talked a lot about combat, but that really is the heartbeat of Ninja Gaiden. I'm not going to try to sell you on the story too high here. I enjoy the first one's story. The second one is just bonkers, and 3 goes completely off the rails. And I think it's what makes the series fun. It just gets more and more Final Fantasy 80, if you will. But it is still a really good romp. But having that challenge back and being able to say, like, this is the version you play is great. But this game was stopping me at times. In particular, the boss fights I haven't had too much of a problem with. I feel like those are easy to kind of get around. There was one boss in New York City where I was just using my bow and arrow, no problems whatsoever. There was another boss where I just had to use my Inferno art, and I would get those free iframes that you love so much in a boss fight. And I stood there, just took out half their health. And a lot of times in this game, when you get the enemy down to like a quarter health, you'll just go for a full-on execution. So you really don't have to work too hard in these boss fights, but it's really the mob fights that are going to whittle you down and challenge your resource management. There is a shop in this game, so you can go ahead and upgrade your weapons. Originally in like Sigma, this would be upgrade points at certain parts in the story, but now here in Black, it's back to using the essence, managing that. Do you want to spend it on new healing, a talisman maybe, or do you want to fully upgrade your weapon? For me, I usually sprint the dragon sword, and it's not really about attack power here more so than it is techniques. There are so many different moves, move sets that you can unlock in Ninja Gaiden. If you open that technique menu, just so much packed within there for you to uncover. I mean, of course, there are the iconic moves that you know of, like the Azuma drop is here as it always is. And there are different weapons that can chain into it as well, like the Lunar Staff, for example, allows you to do that drop. But there are some like the Great Sword, which just sacrifice speed for power and feel so good because you are literally cleaving your enemies in two every single time. And especially when you're fighting some of the bigger fiends in the game where the difficulty does ramp up considerably. It is just so my jam. It just feels so good to have those options available. And what I will say, speaking of fiends, is the enemy variety in Ninja Gaiden 2 is what really makes it click. Just so many different ones, again, from the Black Spider Clan, who has all these different ninjas that can use Nimpo, all the way to ones who will kill themselves to take you out, to ones with the talons, to ones with the swords, all the way to fiends that will bleed poison on top of you. They'll shoot miasma out of their mouth. There's so many different enemies that are going to be attacking you throughout this game, always evolving how you think about and approach a combat scenario. You do have great defensive options, you'll be able to like deflect an enemy's attack and counter them, but you have to time it well. Not in the terms of like a typical parry like you'd find in, say, Sekiro, where you just time the block, but you have to hold up the block and then time the button press to push out for the counter, and it's much more difficult to nail than it actually sounds. So yeah, the combat, the Ryu Hayabusa experience is wonderful. And then what you've got on top of that is the bonus content. So you can play as like Rachel, you can play as Ayane, you can play as all these other characters. So this game has a lot of meat on its bones. And for a Game Pass Day 1 title, hello, easy pickup. But if you've never played this before, you don't know anything about Ninja Gaiden, this is your first time around, okay? Again, I'm not gonna sell you in the story. As you can tell in this review, there's nothing really for me to share on that front. Not telling you like it's bad, just it's a level of ridiculousness that puts you on a ride from location to location. Like there's a point early in the game, you go back to the Hayabusa village, you're like, okay, cool, this is like OG Ninja Gaiden. And this girl runs away out of this door and it's like, chase after her, Ryu, I'll hold him off. And then all of a sudden you're in New York City, a post-apocalyptic New York City. Like there was no cutscene between those two. So yeah, the transition isn't really smooth and you just realize, okay, like we're just going to cool locations and beating up bad guys in the best way imaginable. So I say all of that because if you are a newcomer to Ninja Gaiden, 2 is right here for you. And it's considered by many a wonderful game. And what's great is I think Ninja Gaiden Sigma 1, okay, you can get upset with me, but I think it's a great entry. So you can jump from Ninja Gaiden 2 Black all the way back to Sigma, and then jump into 3 Razor's Edge. Like, they're all amazing games. And especially with Ninja Gaiden 4 at the end of the year, you can look forward to some Ninja Gaiden content throughout the year. But ladies and gentlemen, that's all I've got for you. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is awesome. I'm so happy it exists, and I can't wait to go and continue to play more. We'll have full deep dive retrospectives on each of the Ninja Gaiden games as we lead up to Ninja Gaiden 4. I'm already on chapter 6 of Ninja Gaiden 1 Black, which I've been playing on my 360 to get that OG experience for the first time in a long while. Like I said, I've been Sigma'd to death, so I'm going for that more pure Ninja Gaiden experience. And we'll talk about those as we go along this year. And of course, the brand new Ninja Gaiden 2D game will be covered here on this channel. So keep an eye out. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to hearing your thoughts on Ninja Gaiden 2 Black in the comments down below. Fire away, take excellent care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next Retro Rebound. Peace out.